wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be.
Hello and welcome listener to another episode of Tactical Awareness. My name's Ash and today I'm joined by my fellow host Owen to talk about the final of the 3 new missions from ITS Season 15. That's right, we're doing the last launch. Arguably one of the most interesting new room missions I think put together, and definitely one that you want to tailor a list for. We're going to break it down, we're going to take some letters from the mailbag, and we're just going to catch up on what both of us have been doing the last couple weeks. So dive in and let's get this underway. Do this. And it's the Owen and Ash show. There's no Dan because he's in Florida and probably dead. So, hey everybody. It's ITS Season 15. I'm back with just me and Owen because Dan has gone south. If you see a lost, tall bearded man somewhere in the deep Florida, then go buy an e-bike off him. It'll make him happy. And we are here to talk about the third and final new ITS Season 15 mission, which is the last launch, the final launch, the one I haven't played yet, but Owen has several times. So we're going to marry my constant ignorance, as is tradition, with Owen's knee-jerk reactions,
brazen lying,
yeah. Made up facts and creative facts, and
pretty sure that this is how this works.
Yeah, this is our dynamic. This is how we do. We do this for 8 years. That's how this goes. So before we do that, though, what have you been doing? You played this 4 times. You played some Infinity on the weekend. Actually, I saw you. You talking about a Cascuda.
I've been playing a bunch of Infinity.
Yeah, what you been doing?
I played an event first off. Just a small, like, I think it was like 5-6 players and 3-round. Little bit of Ariadna I played for that one.
That's sweet.
Just vanilla Ariadna, as Duroc and Margot just hard carried me through that event.
I like how you lead into something very specific every time. And
yeah, nothing.
This time it was deployment. Deployment AD or parachutist.
Oh man, here comes Duroc and Margot, and they're like, shit. And then they turn around and they deal with it. And then it's like, all right, cool. And then Van Zant walks in. And I'm like, yeah, now we got him.
Did you really do that? You fucking animal. I like how when you can, you're like, you are the embodiment of that meme with fucking Bilbo, where he's like, why shouldn't I take all of the deployment AD?
Spetsnaz, parachute shotgun, Van Zant, Duroc, and Margot.
Spetsnaz parachute shotgun's my favorite. And he's not as good as he used to because he can't bounce templates the way he used to, right? Like he couldn't like bounce templates around a corner off a dead body, but
walking in the exclusion zone is pretty cool.
Sure is. Yeah, if he's the one guy doing it, and
because the other 2 are going in their deployment.
Yeah,
so like,
they don't care. They just show up. Yeah. They just show up and do it. That's cool. Ariadna, what's got you on the Ariadna kick right now? And off the dogs.
Well, off the dogs is only because I just didn't want to buy them all yet. It's like $180 to buy the things that I need to finish the dog list
to go hard into dogs in.
Yeah, and I just haven't had the motivation to do it. There was something that I picked up. Oh, it was the bears. They redid the pricing at the Sentry Box recently.
Oh, nice.
And they had the bears there, and now they were like in lockstep with most places you'd buy from.
Right, and they're all simulcast,
yeah. Other than like, obviously, there's like the deep discounts places out there that you can get from. But as far as like other retailers, it's like, oh, good. I don't feel bad about spending a 40 or 50% markup against ordering from like Meeple Mart or. Like
you can buy where you play again too, and feel good about it.
Yeah, and like it's the same as everything. Like, yeah, sometimes there's a thing that's a bit more expensive than you could find online, but when it starts becoming like $1 or $2 difference, it's not a big deal. But like, it got pretty bad there for a while, where
they're going off exchange, or they were going off whatever their base.
It's funny because I was talking to the guy there who does their like purchasing and pricing, and we were talking about it, and he I don't think he realized it, whatever algorithm they were doing. I don't think he realized just how much that was screwing their ability to sell them.
Because there were, I see, because how off it was basically.
Yeah, because like they had the US Ariadna starter set, and it was like $129.99, and you can buy the exact same starter set for $84.99 on 401 games. And like, I know 401 is a bit of a discount place, like compared to others.
It is. It's the big online discount place. That's a big difference.
That's almost like 60% markup.
Yeah, it's
like
huge.
That's crazy. Like, look, I want to help you out, buddy, but I could buy 2 of them almost.
Yeah,
like,
I still need to be able to like feel like I'm just paying MSRP at least, right?
Yeah.
Like not over.
Right.
I don't live in Nunavut. You're not flying this in on like a Twin Otter.
Yeah,
right?
So
like
they've readjusted everything, and now it's like, oh, cool. When I come here, I can buy stuff and not be like, feel like I've been like, I made a donation to the store, like in addition to my purchase.
Like you're paying for the gaming tables.
Yeah, which they charge for if you book them. So it's like,
oh, wow. All right, well, there you go.
Yeah,
it's one of those. To be fair, though, it is one of, for everyone listening, it is one of the nicest stores in Canada. It has a beautiful gaming space and is like a premier location. But you're right. Yeah, you don't want to be
there's only so far you can go, right? Yeah, and that was always it for me. Like, there's only so far. But anyway, more of a story is they got a bunch of stuff in. The prices got adjusted to fit more reasonable, closer to market value, I guess is the way I would describe it. And so I bought a bunch of stuff, and then I'm like, I can paint 27 Ariadne models before this game with Dan.
Friday, yeah. That's right. Let's go.
Then I did, and so I painted them all and based them all, and then I played Ariadne for like 7 or 8 games in a row, and now I got my hands on a Cascuda, and then I was like, I have a bunch of
random
combined
stuff. Yeah, I need to finish my Cascuda. It's like 80% done, and I haven't finished it.
He's something. Right.
I love that model. He's huge. He's so cool.
Against JSA, and
they would hate those templates so much.
Shikami can take it pretty well, but the problem that he ran into was that he didn't really have anyone that could, because like the Cascuda is still armor 7.
Yeah.
And so like Spitfires and combi rifles, he's armor 10. Yeah. Like he can just take that and then he'll shoot back at you. And like you can land him on a rooftop because of course you can, and then he just has cover. And he fights, and he's BS14, and he's 3 dice. And then as soon as
he's in knife fight range, he's +3 usually.
Yeah, and then anyone who wants to play the template game loses against him because they're like, I'm going to hit you with my chain rifle. Well, what if I hit you with 2 damage, 15 chain rifles? Yeah. Oh no!
Oh dear! I need 12s to save this with my base heavy infantry guy. This is
more than that. You need 13s.
That's true.
Yeah, 13s. It's even higher.
Oof. Yikes! Oof. Yeah, it's gonna be something.
That is like almost strong enough to pick fights with other tags and super heavy infantry. Because like he has AP on his combis.
Yeah. But the templates, they're saying like the average armor 8 without cover is saving on 7s. That's getting close to 50-50 with two chances because it's a double template, right?
Yeah. And it just makes it that you don't have to play the opposed roll game. So like if they're single tapping you, even with like an explosive round, you could probably take it in cover and just hit him with the 2 templates, and it would like a Yodam shooting you with a heavy flamethrower is not nearly as big a deal as you hitting him with those double templates. Yodam maybe is an exception because the AP would be actually useful there.
Yeah.
But all the size 6
Yodam's almost always an exception to something.
Yeah. all the armor 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, definitely.
There'd be a solid argument.
And you can clear heavy infantry and stuff with it too. It's got a good chance of taking down heavy infantry even. Just because it's such high armor. It's 50-50 on both those dice. You can do 2 wounds maybe and knock him down. I do like that Cascuda.
His only problem is that he has no fucking defenses.
No, he doesn't.
12 and he has no ECM. And so you're like, please leave me alone.
He's cheap enough. I think you just look at him as a cruise missile. He's like a very expensive like Margot and Duroc. Actually, Margot and Duroc are almost the same price.
He actually is 1 point more expensive than them.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very close, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think he's got the same total wound count because I think Margot's 1 dogged.
She's
and
just
then Duroc's got 2.
She's just 1.
She doesn't have dogged?
Nope. She just
maybe
dies.
She used to. Yeah. I remember she's shocking me though, isn't she?
She's probably shocking you, but where she is, it doesn't matter.
No,
like,
nobody's gonna die.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. She's the suppressing half of that fire team, or the AP rifling half of that fire team, and then Duroc is the go chain rifle crap half of that fire team, or throw a grenade through someone's body. That's my favorite still. Is the
she is shocking
19 grenade. Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. So that's cool that you get to play some games over the weekend. I played one game, I think, since the last time we recorded, which was against Colin, which was his first ever game of Infinity. And it was nice. It was a small point game. We played 200. And we played it on like the 3x4, which is kind of an interesting way to play Infinity. Like the narrower board edges make it like a quarter almost, which was kind of neat. And I got to just play against Corregidor, which I hadn't done in a long time. He was playing Corregidor for like his first couple games. I think maybe it was like a second game because he played like the basics. And that was fun. And other than that, I've just been trying to I'm digging out because I unpackaged all of my Infinity models. So they're all in Ziploc bags now. So I'm trying to like organize my Hackaslam stuff for this Hackaslam project. And hopefully the listeners will have put some lists in by the time this episode goes out. So like we'll have a week of them having listened to it because I think the last episode went today. And we'll get some suggestions for my Hackaslam list, and I can start putting models together. We'll do a breakdown, a list breakdown for that army for my new season army. And that's really it. Just like organizing miniatures and played like one game.
I can say the episode that you posted in the Discord was on 9/11.
So is it really?
You haven't since then. You haven't posted.
Oh, yeah, I haven't pushed them to the Discord. That's all it is. That's very funny. I haven't pushed them to the Discord. I should push them to the Discord. I'll do that one today.
That one got hit, and then we stopped posting.
And then we well, just because it means I've forgotten. Basically, I've been busy on Mondays. I've had people come to the studio. I'll do that right now. Actually, it's funny because they keep switching the app around because Spotify bought the hosting place that we're using just for everybody listening. And things like just randomly stop working. Like the app just randomly stops working sometimes, or doesn't copy and paste properly, or copies and pastes all screwed up. So it's been a pain in the ass actually getting everything like collated. Here, I'll put the other one up today. Is everybody complaining we haven't posted yet? Yep, that's exactly what's happening. Oh, and then just a picture of turkey. Perfect. There we go. So yeah, that's been it for me. So we're into the mailbag part of the episode. For you listening, this is the part where we take questions from you on Mailbag, which is filled up conveniently again. And you guys can go and ask another one every episode. These are sort of AMA questions, do with Infinity. You can ask them directly to us or into just like the group in general. And we'll do our best. I'm going to skip any Dan ones. Not that there's any Dan
as ones. If there's been a Dan one.
I immediately knew you were going to say that as soon as that came out of my mouth, which was the best part. So our first one's from Hibiko, and it's for everyone, but Dan excluded. How do you handle drop troops being able to land on exclusions on edges in this season's ITS? Do you just measure where that line is when you declare where you're dropping the troop? Do you declare where you think the edge is and then measure and adjust after declaration? Do you just set up the table so the exclusion zone line is somewhat obvious so as to avoid the confusion? I treat it exactly the same as any parachutist coming in, which means when a parachutist arrives, I have to place the model and then check to see if it's in a legal spot and then adjust, which is what you always do during deployments, just like you're deploying or nudging a fire team together.
I imagine he's thinking more along the drop troopers who could do it across the table.
Yeah, but I would do the same way. I would eyeball where I think it's going to be, where the exclusion zone is,
and then just pull them to it.
And then pull them to it, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't pre-measure it, right? So, I think you can actually pre-measure the sides, can't you? To see where you're eligible to show in.
You can't pre-measure the distance up and across, if that makes sense. Because like there's nothing that, or at least nothing that I'm aware of that explicitly states that you could pre-measure that. I mean, I've played, people have brought them. Essentially, it's the same idea of like, hey, who can see this spot if I were to go here? And then you check where it actually is. And then it's like, oh, actually, he could see. Okay, I'm not going to go there. And it's like, cool. Pick where you want to go. Like, there's no roles involved.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you don't declare any AROs until he's decided where it's going to be. So it's, in my opinion, it's no different than a guy who like wants to tow around the edge of a building and isn't sure who could actually see him. And you're just like, okay, I don't do it.
Or who wants to place his parachutist on the side edge in such a way that a building shadow is like blocking it from being shot. You know what I mean? Like you nudge it to where you can't be seen because you're trying to determine that before you place the model even.
Right. Can I climb to the top of this and not be seen? If I stood here and it's like, oh, I actually can't make it there. So then it doesn't matter. And like that's the logic. At least that I've been playing at the people I've played against.
Yeah. To me, it just extends the line across the middle of the table. It's just that there isn't like a convenient board edge basically to eyeball it from. You know what I mean? So like you have to kind of like know where those lines are. But let's be honest, like after a while you get pretty good at that. Like like you can usually tell what the 12-inch line is. You can usually tell what the
more often than not, look where their HVT is and cut it across.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's almost I would say 8 out of 10 times for either of us. We put it right on the line, and that's gonna be the correct spot or close enough to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So then we got Tebran Nim asking all of us, I feel the adjustment to bioimmunity rule has unfairly nerfed the rule and relegated it to the meh pile for those models. How would you rewrite the rule to make it useful and relevant without being overpowered? Why don't you go first? Because you had some opinions on bioimmunity when it first got changed. Yeah, you had a couple. Or maybe it was Dan actually that had them.
Dan has actually used bioimmunity. I don't give a shit about bioimmunity.
Yeah, we had some fixes. I just remember the last time we talked about it, we had like what I thought was actually a really clever fix. I think Dan came up with it. And it was like, keep it the way it is now.
Already in the meh pile. Like
it was well, because the big change is that it got rid of the AP immunity.
Yeah.
Right.
AP,
like it basically
AP and viral and like all of the ammo types came back essentially.
Exactly. So like it to me, I think you just give those models, you keep the bioimmunity the way it is, and then you can give those models like thematic immunities that are to whatever type of bioimmunity they have, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if you want to have the sort of like bio armor of the Onyx Contact Force tags be represented by bioimmunity, you could give them bioimmunity and then give them like, I don't know.
I think the models that have bioimmunity could literally lose bioimmunity and be completely fine.
Yeah, just I don't think. I
don't even know if you get a point reduction. Like Zeodrons are already solid.
Yeah.
Like wait, no.
Agreed.
Yeah, Zeodron. Yeah. 5/6, 50 points. Like what? That's
the Matrix tag. Always pays something for a point cost. You know what I mean? Like it's like biometric.
I'm not sure if that we all know that does anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
I got some questions about a couple models who have come out, and I don't think that Matrix is doing what it used to do.
When it was really good, when it made you immune to basically have like a quasi total immunity.
It literally just was total immunity, like with like 2 exceptions.
When your armor was 5/6, it was. When your armor was 1/6, it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like there was a few cases, but mostly when N3 went to N4, they changed all those profiles anyway. Like Bolts having like, I think it was like 1/3 armor or something like that. And
I mean, the standout was when Katakuri's had bioimmunity and had BTS9.
Yeah,
for like like a 15-minute window.
Yeah,
and then the new edition just gave them TI. And it's like, if they should have bioimmunity, give them a variation of immunity, like one of them, or just TI. Because why not?
TI. Yeah. Like, well, TI is getting kind of ridiculously passed around as well. But I think just giving them like a thematically appropriate immunity, like immunity criticals or immunity, you know what I mean? Like something like that. Where
and those have already shown up. Immunity AP, immunity crit, like other models have those abilities.
Absolutely, yeah, like baked in.
You could do immunity viral, immunity shock. Oh, sorry, shock immune is all over the place.
Well, tags automatically have shock immune anyway, right?
But not all of these guys are tags, right? Like there's bioimmunity that like floats all through hockey.
You're right. Yeah.
And yet it has never once come up for me.
It's never really mattered. It's never been much. I'm bioimmunity and I'm 1/3. Oh, cool.
Guys, do you remember the last time your Muyib was saved because of his bioimmunity?
Sweet bioimmunity. Yeah, probably
right. Not. Like, yeah. Okay, cool.
Correct.
That's my perspective on bioimmunity. Just get rid of it. Like
just replace it with an immunity to something else that's more thematic.
Give them that 1 point discount.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
It is basically 1 point discount. Yeah. All right, so we're into our last question for this week, and it's from Alice. It's for all, and it says, I'm having a Shazvasti craving, but I always struggle to keep them alive on the defensive and after they come out of camo. Any tips on how to protect my precious camo babies, how to better deploy them, tricks for camo spam in general? I just want to make it harder for my opponent to deal with the might of the egg. You've played Shazvasti. I've played camo armies before. My first instinct to answer this question is like command token usage, is like coordinating recamos at the end of the turn and getting good at placing those models in places where your last order, like putting a camo token, like an order and a command token aside to make sure everybody's back in marker state at the end of the turn. That's like my first instinct for answering that.
I don't think Shazvasti does the camo thing very well.
No,
which feels weird because they should, but I think Shazvasti has some pretty cool link teams and individual good camo markers.
I was gonna say I think like certain camo markers, like if you're going Sphinx, right? If you're going like Norkius, because I think Norkius has camo, doesn't he? I'm like pretty sure he does.
I don't even know who that is because I don't think he's in that faction.
Oh
the
no,
guys
he's
who
in
I
Onyx.
was thinking
No,
of,
you're right. Norkius is I
yeah.
think in Onyx. I'm
So
just
like
thinking of like the hunter pieces, basically they're in
the
Shaz.
Caliban is a great hunter piece.
There you go.
Because
Yeah,
he's also he can do a lot of fun stuff by also being an MSV level with his mimetism and camo.
Yeah. Noctifers obviously do.
Yeah, Noctifier missile launcher is like a staple of this guy who can just tap you. And the thing is, it's kind of it. Like the other ones,
Sphinx, and the Sphinx is the other big one because having attack going to camo at the end of its turn is a huge deal.
Yeah, the
right?
Sphinx,
because it protects it from all kinds of things like hacking and all that stuff. It's actually not great at stopping hacking because it has no ECM and it's only BTS6.
I honestly think the Sphinx is better in vanilla combined than he is in.
We get access to cheaper troops.
Yeah, exactly.
To make it to make him move around.
Because like the Nox troopers are not bad, and like I think that's the thing is if you brought the Sphinx and he was like the only camo guy you brought, and then the rest of your list was like robots, Guilo.
I was gonna say mentors might want to be able to get back into camo. But a lot of them, you're right.
You only bring one mentor, and he's your lieutenant.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a lot of them have nano screens and stuff like that, so you're not necessarily using them as, you're not necessarily.
I'm pretty sure
guys who can go into camo.
There's no overlap between camo and nano screen, if I recall.
No, I'm saying like, but your big fighting pieces that you take, if you're not taking a Sphinx, you're taking stuff like you're taking a Guilo, right? Who doesn't have camo, so like your fighting piece isn't going back into camo at the end of the turn. Like I'm just saying, part of the way you play. Or if you're taking speculos, they're you can't coordinate because they're impersonating, right? So like speculos would be ones that might want to, but if you're doing camo, it's basically just shrouded malignos, like if you want, and your Noctifers that are like your key pieces.
Like my opinion is the starting staple of your Shazvasti list is 4 Nox and a T-drone, and that's your primary fighting group. And then you can sprinkle it in with your personal favorite marker state guys.
Yeah,
because the T-drone is real good.
Oh sure, yeah, and linked especially. I was just gonna say it is like if you're going into camo, you're kind of going all in. But I think you're right. I think it comes from the place of like a list design because you can't coordinate like camo and impersonation at the same time. So that makes it kind of inefficient for using command tokens. And then if you're not taking pieces that take advantage of camo, that's just not a problem. So you kind of have to build a list that does that has like 4 key camo pieces that you're going to use every turn. Then you're going to put back into camo at the end of the round, maybe.
I just think they're too expensive. You can't actually play that way because you can, like, you're talking about it as if you were playing Ariadne, where you had like 15 to 20 point camo guys. Shazvasti doesn't have that. Like,
yeah, they do.
The Shrouded is the cheapest.
It's the cheapest, yeah. It's 22 points.
At 22, right? Like
yeah,
that ain't no 14-point Foxtrot.
The FO is 23. No, but the FO is 23 points. He's got shock mines, a flash pulse, and a combi rifle, and all of the other gear. The Shrouded's pretty key. I think I could make a solid 4 model.
The Trinitarian is 23 points, but he's Mim 6 and Arm 1.
Who?
Like the guys in military orders.
I was like, what are we talking about in this faction?
Well, no, I'm just looking at like
saying.
The thing is like what you're trying to say is like, oh, you can play this like a camo list.
Fair.
Like
what I'm saying is I'm just trying to give useful advice to the person asking the question who obviously wants to play with camo markers. That's what I'm trying to do. And you're trying to rewrite their army list.
I'm just saying
that's what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm not having success playing this way I want to play in my faction. Sure. I don't think your faction plays that way. My hacking game from my Ariadne ain't very good either. But what's your advice for that?
I'm just saying I think they can do it. I'm trying to make a list of like a core 4 fighting piece or like button pushing piece that all have camo. And it only runs out to, if I grab all of these guys, it runs out to a total of 179. And I've got a Shrouded, a Malignos, like a Shrouded Forward Observer, a Malignos Killer Hacker, a Noctifer Missile Launcher, and a Sphinx. And so I've still got 121 points to fill in the rest of that with like exactly what you just talked about, which is what, like Q-Drone, Q drone plasma or HMG?
88 points is the 5-man link that I recommend.
Well, there you go. So 88 points. So Q drone plasma or
no
HMG,
no
which one?
T drone FTO.
Oh, the FTO T drone, who's the missile launcher, right?
Because then he can link with Ada Swanson.
That's right.
Who's the mine layer FTO. And then you get a Nox hacker, Nox paramedic, Nox HMG. It's a pure link. They get the +3 for being in that pure link. The missile shoots twice. They have their own hacker, so you can send other things out or put down repeaters. And this thing can just fight anyone. Like, they fight at every range.
Yeah.
They have access to viral mines, which is hilarious.
Which is great.
On a mine layer. And then you have a double tapping missile launcher who, if you want to go further into it, which kind of back and forth on this one, bring the E-drone and give marksmanship to your missile bot. And now he's effectively BS like 18.
There you go. You're at 9 models and 258. You have a Sphinx, a Shrouded, a Malignos, and Noctifer missile launcher. You've got your full fire team with the T-drone FTO, Ada FTO, 2 Nox, and I put in a Nox hacker just to have a hacker because it's the same point cost. Because why not?
Yeah, I had a Nox hacker in that group that I listed.
And then so what? You still got 42 points to fill in with like cheap drones. You can put in double baggage bots. Where are they?
You want a Caliban is what you want.
I was gonna put in the MedTech because the MedTech gives you sweet fixing sphinxes.
The Caliban does it better because he's an infiltrating camo engineer and he can still have a slave drone.
There you go.
And also has the same whip as
the same point
Dr.
cost?
Wormbot. He's more expensive. He's 28 points.
I was trying to keep him cheap.
He's 6 points different. And
yeah, but we're at the end here, right? So we're into like group 2. So I'm trying to get to 15. I don't think I can get to 15 otherwise. Actually, I don't think I get to 15 either way. But if you take the med tech and double slave drones, you're at 10 models in group 1, 286, and then you can fit in. Where's those cheapo flamethrower mans? Icadron Batroids. You can get one of them. You can't quite get 2 of them, but you could get 2 7-point drones. M drones? Is that what they're called?
They only get 1.
Q drones only get 1.
You get a Taiga. That's what you get. You get
one of those and a Taiga. There you go.
Here, I did it. I made the list.
You made the list? All right, what's your list?
It is here. I'll post it in the patron chat, and then you can just look at it and see what I'm. This is my brain of what an effective Shazvasti list looks like these days. If you want to use the Sphinx, it doesn't go too hard into camo. There's only the Mentor and the Caliban who are going to be camoing up, and then hiding a mine layer who in these guys you have to be nervous of what that actually is.
Right.
But yeah, 5-man link, E-drone. You can either protect your Sphinx or buff your T-drone, depending if they're a hacker heavy faction or not. You have 3 Taigas with 2 Icadrons to fuel them, so your Taigas can go and do stuff and protect points. You have the engineer who has his own slave drone, so he can either fix the T-drone if it goes down, fix the Sphinx if it goes down, or he can bring it with him and double tap with his Protheon close combat ability. Right. So he becomes MA5 just for having his slave drone traveled nearby. Yeah, and then you have a little R drone flashbot and some flamethrowers to cover your backside, and here you go. And then each turn, turn 1, you have your Sphinx who can go out and fight till he dies. Turn 2, you have your link team that can fight till it dies and do objectives. And then turn 3, whatever's left, whether it's the Caliban or some of the link or some of the Taigas. There you go.
Well, I went a different direction from you, and I went with trying to give the you can have camo and have it recam within the turn. So I went the Sphinx, a Shrouded, Forward Observer, a Malignos Kill Hacker, a Noctifer Missile Launcher. The fire team with the T-drone FTO, Ada FTO, Nox Lieutenant, Nox Combi, and a Nox Hacker, and then a MedTech with a Slave Drone, which is 10 in Group 1. And then Group 2, you got a Icadron and an R drone, which you can then put into, or you can use the R drone or the Icadron even to reload those mines on Ada and generally cause problems. So I got to 12 models, 12 all regular order generating models. And 4 of them are in camo and can be command tokened to recamo. So we came at 5.5 SWC and 299 for mine.
Yeah, I'm also
nothing.
I'm also 5.5, 299. I'm also more hesitant to do coordinated orders nowadays, what with the ability to just purchase an order. I do that every round, every game so
for
far.
sure. Yeah, it's a great it's a great new ability.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. All right, let's add in this one. And that was our last question. So go fill up the mailbag because the mailbag is looking real empty again. We got one sitting question. We'll link it in the Tech Word channel now that we're back to doing that. And we're going to jump into talking about
I do want to one last thing.
Fun.
I cannot stress enough the Caliban engineer with slave drone in Shazvasti
is great.
It's real good. Like you don't expect how good it is. Just be aware that it's there.
I don't disagree. It is real good. So anyway. we're now we're now talking about everyone's favorite mission, the last launch. This one's real interesting.
I like this one way more than Evacuation.
I do too.
Having now played Evacuation as well.
Yeah.
Never doing that again.
Well, it's rescue on hard mode, whereas last launch I think is I like all room missions because they create a central focal point for the game. And I like the puzzle part of Infinity with like an attack and defense. So let's just overview the mission real fast. For those that didn't hear us talk about it, we did like the recap at the end of last season. This one is basically a huge room in the middle of the table. To the left and the right of it are ID scanners, and in the center is the launch bay. It has a central room. There's an exclusion zone, which is 8 inches to either side of the central line, and 12-inch deployment zones. It has Evo hackers. They don't have to have an ID tag. They don't have to go get one from the consoles before they launch. Baggage to control the room. Specialists are specialists. And then if you want to dominate the launch tower and the zone of control, you have to, of course, have your points in there. You need to download IDs from the ID terminals, and you need to have an ID in order to spend the order to launch and get fired out of the cannon or whatever. At the end of the game, if you've extracted more army points, you get 4. It's a big score for getting more people off the table. At the end of the game, if you extracted more specialists, you get 2 more for 6. At the end of the game, if you've killed more specialists, you go to 8. At the end of the game, have killed the same number of specialists for 1. At the end of the game, dominate the launching tower for 1. So holding the room at the end of the game is only worth 1. It's all about getting people off the table, killing their specialists, and extracting your specialist. And then you get a single classified worth 1 point. So this is unlike Evacuation. You can score big in this mission. Like you can get 10 in this mission. Has that been your experience?
Oh yeah. Usually, almost guaranteed, somebody's won or is in a state of having won the game on the end of top of 1.
Really?
And the other player has to try and not lose
and uphill it. Right. Okay, yeah. Because somebody's taken the room and launched something.
No, their EvoBot walked out right off the bat. First thing they did is just left.
Yeah.
And they went, all right, I have 4 points because I have more, and I have 2 points because he was a specialist, and he was worth 35 points because he was an EvoBot. Good luck. Yeah, you gotta fight 35. I don't care what happens.
That's you gotta get a heavy infantry guy off if you want, and he didn't need the ID tags. You just run him out.
Right, and he can do that in 2 orders, and you cannot stop him unless you can kill him before he gets to it. Because even if he dies as part of the liftoff, he still goes. So you have to kill him before he gets there.
So that really
it's real hard.
Well, I was gonna say, I was gonna say it really uphills some armies that don't have Evo bots.
Everyone has an Evo.
Everyone has an Evo bot.
They're not all bots.
Okay, everyone's got at least the war driver, right? Like
when I played my Ariadne, we played last launch at that event, and Mr. War Driver was like, "I'm out.
Bye." Yeah,
I'm only 17 points, but it doesn't matter if I disable their hands and their Evo bot can't leave.
Yeah, okay. So it's either war drivers or it's bots for the people. I think honestly, the war driver is better. He's easier to hide.
Think that
they're same speed. Why not?
The EvoBot is 35 points. Like,
because he got baggage. Because he got baggage. Oh, sorry. That's right. Because the war driver doesn't then. Oh, that kind of balances it out then. The fact that he's kind of more sneaky and not as big a profile trying to move through the doors and move around versus you get the baggage on the other EvoBots. That's true.
And again,
he's an EvoBot, but he's not an EvoBot.
Pretty much everybody is going to have some variation of I throw smoke and he walks in and leaves. And like Pano's the only one who can't. And Pano's answer is, who can see through the door here? I shoot them. Like,
you can't see through this cloud of bullets.
I have this sniper that can see. Well, if I die to kill that sniper, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
I
guess you
stand
could
up and shoot him.
Technically, you could eclipse your way in with a Guardia de Assalto in one army.
Yeah.
That's about it. But you're right. I think that did feel, I think we did the breakdown. So that's been your experience now, is that everybody basically figured out, like, yeah, just get in the door and get out early. So it's a go first mission, eh? Weird for a room mission.
Yeah, it's asterisk go first. It's go first if you can get your evil bot out that door. If the reacting team has a lot of like stuff, it can be hard. Like if they have a really good ARO thing, like that Morat with the quad tap sniper, or
it's not a great arrow piece, but he's a good active piece. Yeah, so there are some good like reactive pieces that you're right.
But you just like, it's still, yeah, this is a mission that you need to build a list for, because you have to bring those evil bots.
Yeah,
and he has to live.
Spud's all neurokinetic nun army would be a nightmare in this mission. He has 3 Sin Eaters and then a full fire team of Moras, and you're just flying into full burst -6 to hit army trying to get into that room would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, maybe.
As far as like, maybe you would not go first.
Myrmidon eats smoke grenade.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Well, he's got lots of visors too.
That doesn't work. Or sorry, I said smoke, but that's not what I meant when I said Myrmidon.
I said Myrmidon.
The bigger Myrmidon. No, the Myrmidon officer.
Eclipse Myrmidon is what I meant. I meant Eudoros. I meant robot legs, man.
I meant the 5 people in that faction.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. All the 5 Eudoroses that we get sent through here. Yeah, just the people with the steel flanks would do. They would just leave with 200 points and then just have Achilles sit in the room being like, yeah, let's go. Come on. Like, what do you want? Come get me. Achilles and Ajax just sit in the room by themselves, keeping everybody out. So what armies have you played this with?
I played this as Pano, as Ariadna, like 2 or 3 times, as I think that's it, those ones. And then I've played against Shazvasti and what the faction does Dan play? 012 and something else, I forget.
I feel like 012 would be okay at defending the room because they've got tons of like defensive tech and mine layers and stuff like that. The exclusion zone does kind of cause a problem though, for keeping people in the room.
It's surprising how hard it is for them to. I found in my experience that you actually don't need to hold the room per se. You just need sight lines to the room.
Yeah, just slow people down. Yeah.
Yeah, because like and really what you actually want to defend are the ID boxes.
And the launch point, yeah.
Because I don't care about the launch point if you don't have an ID. Because it doesn't do anything for you. So if I can get my Evo guy out and kill yours before he even gets to move at the cost of literally anything in my army, all I have to do now is make it where you have to struggle to walk up and spend the whip checks trying to get ID check.
Because it's super order intensive to go through that process, and you can just make it harder by having guys watching that, multiple people watching that button.
And a notable thing is the side rooms are not 12 inches in, they're 8 inches in. Yep. Which means you lose a movement. And so like if you had an optimal situation where your person deployed straight at the button with no one in their way, it's 1 order to get there, 2nd order whip check, half move, 3rd order move again to the door, 4th order to get out. So 4 orders per guy, assuming he passes his whip check. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Expensive. Yeah, in a 45 order ish game.
In a perfect world too, there's no terrain in your way. There's no
There's no face to face roll slowing you down.
No one reveals.
You didn't fail any web checks. Yeah. That all of a sudden gets like it's real fast. It's not going to be a perfect game ever. And so you got to make sure the right people get off, and the right people are even the ones you try with first, so that you can get those points off. Because it's the point if you don't get more points off, or even like I was gonna say, those orders are wasted. Like if you don't do it with the right people, those orders are wasted. So what do you feel like what
do you think? Because you're the one who wanted to do opinions, and I'll tell you what I've experienced.
I just had one last question before. I'm doing thought experiments right now. So the last question was, what do you think the requirement is if this is in a tournament pack for you to write a list for it?
You have to have an Evo list, something that has at least 1 Evo bot. And
some lockdown pieces.
you really actually just need to be able to you don't need to defend. You only need to be able to reach out and kill stuff. Because everyone's got the exclusion zones. You can't close range. So you need like a big sniper or a big HMG or some equivalent of those, where if your opponent has a piece that can protect a spot, you could kill it. And then that clears the path for your Evo to get out. And then that even same guy...
repeaters that cause isolations. You know what I mean? Like, because you manage to isolate somebody or even just cause them to have to reset that isolation, you've ended the launch. As soon as they're isolated, they just can't go anymore.
But you kind of right? don't, right? Because like, unless you can isolate them prior to them getting to the box, right?
But it's still two more orders to get to launch out. So as soon if they isolate while they're getting the order and they don't face to face you, provided it all goes right and they get their ID tag, they just stop there.
I see what you're saying.
Right? Like if you can lock down the ID checker,
you are only ever fighting their Evo bots. Gotcha. Like, who gives a crap about the side buttons if they have an Evo bot? They don't matter. You have to kill that guy.
Well, you just said that you needed to get your Evo bot off if you're going first and then lock those places down. I'm in the thought experiment of that's we're following your strategy right now. I'm just trying to go to the logical conclusion of it. Those are powerful things.
We got past to the first part of it real fast, in my opinion, because like you being able to get your Evo bot out might be real difficult.
Well, that was going to be my next question was if you include an Evo bot in your list, what's your delivery system, right? So some armies are going to have one, some armies aren't going to have one because everybody's got access to an Evo hacker. Not all of them have a way of getting them there. So ironically, the non-baggage Evo hacker is probably the one with the best delivery system, which is going to be Ariadna because they've got smoke all over the place. They can throw to go get there. Second best will be the
I actually think
the baggage and the Hack Islam one.
The two heroes of this mission, in my opinion, are Steel Phalanx and Akon. Like Shock Army of Akon to Cemento.
Because they have Eclipse.
They both have Eclipse and they both have Cilia. And she's a great Evo hacker.
Yeah. And she's a huge amount of points too. And she gets her bot as well, with you, which is more points. Yeah.
And because she can actually do shit as she leaves, you have someone going who's not.
If you lose, they go first roll. You also have someone who could fight her way there if she's not going first, right? If you lose that first roll, and
you can really also powerful. She can step up and shoot pitchers as she heads for the door.
Sure.
And then leave, and those pitchers don't go away. So cool. Yeah. And because both of those factions have access to Eclipse Smoke, which they can deliver without counter.
I was gonna say
99% of maps.
In Garda, the Garda even can go get ID tagged and go too, right? Like he gets his bot to leave as well, and he can deliver himself with that Eclipse grenade. I think anyone with Eclipse obviously is going to be super powerful. What was the other one? Anybody with
Smoke Grenade is great too.
Mirror Ball. Well, no, any Toho with Mirror Ball as well, right? Because it's another Eclipse grenade basically.
Yep.
You get all access to that. They're gonna have the ability to like get off the table. So
they have an Evo.
They have a war driver. They have almost no hackers. Yes, they have like one Camille hacker, and then they have the war driver. Yeah,
that's right.
There's like Ariadna because they do everything with like biotics.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So the next question I had, and I guess my opinion time thing would be, what if you choose to go second? So devil's advocate, you think you should go first. I typically think anytime there's like a zone of operations to control, or you can make people waste orders, you want to go second. Now that's a room mission, so the room's infinitely high. But you can see, because all the doors are open, you can see through it, so you can see the launch point. I think it's very hard to, without having a purpose-built list that has something like Eclipse in it. I think it's very hard to get that Evo bot off. I think certain factions can use your plan, and certain factions can't. I guess is what I was going to say, without having to maybe go uphill.
I was going to say there's one thing that I don't know if you're considering. The room is like the actual door wall of it, not the door part, is 4 inches from your exclusion zone. So if I'm going first, I can deploy my guy in the open behind that wall, knowing that it's infinitely tall. And it's unlikely that I'll keep him in reserve to see in case you do something that might shoot him there. If you don't, or even if you do, maybe I defend it. But if you don't, I put him there. He walks 4 straight at the wall, and then he dodges as his second short skill to be just towing the absolute bare minimum in that doorway. And now he's gone. because his next order, he walks the 4 inches to the box, and it doesn't matter if you kill
if he lives or dies, doesn't matter. That's a good. I don't think we mentioned that yet this episode, but that's a good point. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If you make the launch test, you're just gone.
And there is no test.
There's no test. Sorry, you just spend the order and you go if you have a tag.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like it's even face to facing, it's pointless because
you have to kill him before he gets there. And
exactly it. Yeah.
You have to go first. Like, try and go first. You'll be doing the uphill fight, because basically if you're going second, again, I think you should have your own Evo hacker if you know this mission is in your packet.
Right.
And you need to be able to keep him alive against whatever's coming at you, and then you have to get him out. And they're going to have to try and stop you from getting your Evo bot. And after that point, I don't know what happens, because every one of my games, one person succeeded and the other person didn't.
And it was just basically everybody left on the table selling their lives to keep you out of that lodge.
So the one Evo war driver who walked off the board was the guy who won me the game for 6 points just by himself.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, other points got brought up too, but it didn't matter because what happened was
causing chaos for the rest of it.
This dork walked in and left, and then Duroc killed his Evo hacker and died to do it. And it was completely worth it to lose a 60-point dog to kill a 15-point Evo, because now my opponent could do nothing. He couldn't.
That was the next thing I was going to ask you. Do you think if you're making the list, because the assumption is going to be everyone's going to write almost an identical list, style-wise, probably. Is it worth having an assassin piece to go and hunt down? I think it absolutely is. I think having like a assassin or deployment zone AD or an AD troop like a Lu Sheng, like who could jump out of the sky and just crush that Evo bot basically with his feet.
Yep.
Any of those, like that's the other auto include. Like the Evo hacker is just
he's the first piece.
He's the first piece.
How does your faction kill
it? Hacker? Yeah. Exactly. How do you kill the thing that they need to get through the door? And if you've already killed it some other way, then how do you kill other specialists with that same piece? Because even if that guy loses a bit of value once the
after that point, all you have to do is make them waste time. Like, you don't even have
2 points. It's 2 points for specialist kills, right? So if you kill more specialists, then
but they don't matter. You already won if you got your one guy out. It's 6 points.
It matters in a tournament, but it matters in a tournament to get 2 more, right? Because that's your first time. So I'm just saying, like, I'm saying his value isn't wasted. He can go. He just switches to kill specialist modes after he kills the Evo guy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
right. Yeah. He flips over. Like if you manage to snipe out that guy or catch him with overwatching arrows or something like that, then your assassin piece switches to, well, I guess I'm just killing specialists now, Morty. Like jumps down, so it's crushing those necks.
So in my point before of like, if you're not going first, operation don't let your Evo die is the second part.
Sure.
And in that, I think whoever it is that you have that's going to go try and kill that Evo bot is probably not going home. Like whatever defenses your opponent has or whatever defenses you have, he may kill your Evo bot, but you're definitely killing him in the process. It's kind of, that's my expectation. It's how it's played out for me. I watched the table next to me and it played out the same for them. And then it gets like dicey. Like there was a case where in one game I had a what are they called? The Ariadne parachutist who's not a paracommando.
That's not American. A paracommando. Oh, the American one is the
Airborne
Rangers.
20-point airborne forward observer walks in from the side, gets themselves a piece of ID, and then walks to the middle and leaves because they couldn't defend against the guy who could show up inside the exclusion zone. And it was kind of an oversight. And so like if he had been able to contest that a little bit, just shooting at an airborne ranger as he ran for it, probably didn't make it because there's having that as your reserve orders.
If you're going second, I think having that as a reserve, a pocket piece, basically some kind of AD troop that can show up and grab a tag and leave, that's like a decent point value, is probably a good second. Like if we're going have something Evo, have some assassin piece, and then have something that can respond to, like, if that guy's dead, if that Evo guy's dead, that's not going to get off the table.
I think the experience that you're going to find, and this was the similar one in the evacuation one, it is very, very order intensive to do this, like to get those buttons and to get off the board.
And I think it saves something that there is a huge deal.
Yeah, and not only that, it's just like, it's not a case of like, oh, I'm going to get like 2 or 3 of these guys off the board. Or there is an argument in the Discord about like, well, what if the lieutenant leaves? What happens? And it's like, it ain't going to happen. Like it isn't. I'll be real with you. If by some means your lieutenant got off the board, you
Friggin'
won
miracle.
an hour ago.
Yeah, it's,
like,
right. It's a miracle.
You were just screwing with your opponent at that point because like you had made it. I know there are some lieutenants that are also specialists and it can cause that to cop up, but even those, they have to go, they have to push the stupid button, and then they have to make it to that room. And your opponent is not going to have nothing. They're going to do something to stop you from making that. Like, my one list had just 2 Sunduck butts that sat on each of the ID buttons. And it's like, cool. I don't care. You'll win probably, but it'll take you 4 or 5 orders to fight through these idiots. And by that point, you'll have stalled out and you can't get out the map. I win. Like, that's the whole thing. I don't need to. You can kill more specialists than me. You can do your classified. You can do whatever you want. But I got my Evo bot out, and that's 6 points, and I win this round. And that's kind of been my perspective on this map. Is it all comes down to get your guy out as soon as you can.
Yeah, and then have a plan if that goes wrong. Like, have something else on your list. Yeah, have some kind of plan for getting off somebody else that's not super order intensive, that gets you there like at least a couple orders up the board, so you can do it and have a little bit of wiggle room if you don't get the orders that you need because you've taken a bunch of casualties. It does feel like just as a last point about army inclusion for like list writing for this one, that one of the things you might want to include to protect your Evo bot and just to have in general is like boost deployables, things that don't need line of sight, crazy koalas, mat traps.
They can't get them on deployment, unfortunately. You'd have to move up and do them. So it takes
no. I mean, if you go second, you want to be able to surround your Evo bot.
I
that
see
kind of
saying.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to have a nest.
Protect.
Yeah, exactly. You want a nest to protect yourself from those assassin pieces. Even at like having like an impersonation piece that can be in base contact with your Evo bot, so that somebody can't just like spotlight missile you, right? Because they can't hit the impersonation marker. Like, there's a bunch of little things you can do to create like a safety net
or even if there's a way you put him in such a position and you literally body block him. Like, you put a guy there that prevents a melee specialist from getting base to base.
Yeah,
just because.
Just stack bodies next to him. Yeah,
I will say that I think this is the mission for my boy, the Stigmata, as a built-in specialist tag, and also being fast and also having a decent whip and the ability to fight on his way out.
Yeah, it's very funny, but like, also very good.
His tack aware means that he's like in his own first 2 orders, he's potentially well on his way to leaving. Like, it's 3 orders for a Stigmata to get out the board instead of the 4 for anyone else, assuming perfect rolls, blah, 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 blah. But he's also the most likely to fight his way past it if he has to fight someone too. Yeah,
agreed. That's a decent one to get off the table. The other one I was going to think of, although not a specialist, actually any tag technically can be a specialist to grab an ID, right? As if there's no risk to you, you can get out and grab an ID.
Yep.
Not all of them have great whip. They're all like whip 12, but you can still do it if you need to. Unless
most of the ancillaries are 11.
I know. Yeah, but not Maggie. Maggie can do it. Another reason why Maggie's great. If you can get Maggie off the board, man.
Yep.
Hooray. Actually, if you got out of Maggie, because I don't think you can get through the door, can you?
You can. It's a wide gate.
It's a wide gate. Okay, there you go. Yeah. All right, there you go. Yeah, if you can get Maggie off the board, that's such a shocking amount of points. It's a huge number of points.
Now, the flip side to that, Maggie doesn't count as a specialist when it leaves. And so
no, it doesn't. It doesn't count as baggage. It sure does count as baggage, which is huge.
It is 108 points.
Actually, here's my question. Is the tag a peripheral for the point of view if you exit the tag and then walk out with the pilot? Would that be a specialist leaving? Peripheral.
It would be a specialist leaving.
And it would be the same points.
It would not be points because it has the pilot skill. It would be 0. So if
doesn't
you're Anaconda...
doesn't the pilot count as the same points for the purposes of scoring?
It does not. It does not. There is 2 exceptions.
Okay.
And it is the 2 pilots in the game who don't have the pilot skill.
That's right. Who don't
and
have
it's both of the eject people.
That's right. I'm thinking about them because I had to fight them when you were here. Back when you were here in the spring.
That iguana, counts, though he's not a specialist. And then the anaconda, who is also not a specialist.
That's
but those pilots would count.
Those 2 assholes would count if they decide to leave. Yeah. That's very funny. I'm just trying to think of a way that you could get both from Maggie. I don't think you can, though. I think you're right, because I don't think the tag exits with her if she leaves, versus like other stuff like peripherals and attachments all exit as soon as the model leaves.
Which is where I'm like, I think that you've got to, if you play Bakunin, you could probably get away with bringing a Stigmata rather than your Evo bots if for whatever reason you wanted to do it that way.
She's so many points, and she's still a specialist too. Yeah,
it's a lot of points. It's a built-in specialist, and if you're going second, good chance they can't kill you on turn one. Yeah. And also you can fight past with it itself, or it's tough enough that it can just endure whatever's going to happen.
Yeah, just walk through instead.
Because they have to do 5 wounds to kill the thing.
Well, and you can Warlock smoke your way there even, right? Because you get cheap smoke.
Yep. And so like there's something to say about nomads having a tag who is capable of doing the job.
Exiting the table, yeah. Well, I think that this is a very good example of like you got to write a list for this one. I personally think that if this shows up in a mix for like an event and you didn't have a plan for one of your lists to be for this mission specifically, you're gonna have a big swing. Like I think that when this one shows up in a mission, you're gonna see a lot of 10 nothings, right? Like a lot of big or 9 nothings actually, because people will forget to do their classified because it's so order intensive.
Usually the person who won by getting out loses the room and the other guy gets the room at the end of the mission.
Gets the 1 point at the end of the mission, yeah.
Because
it's 1 point though, so who gives a shit?
Like, for sure. But I just mean to say that like you get a little something. They get their specialist. They probably killed more specialists after that point. And like the guy who didn't waste 4 to 12 orders trying to get people off the board spent those just killing you. And you went down. Not only did you spend those points not killing him, you spent them removing models from your army that are less orders throughout the course of the game too.
The scoring in this one is a very straight line, and it's very opposed points. Like if you get it, your opponent doesn't, right? In all cases. I think there's one tie version.
Yeah, kill the same number of specialists.
Right.
For one. Ooh.
Yeah. So like
with 6 of them being one guy walking off the
That's map. Exactly it. Yeah. So you have a major victory's worth of points tied up in a single model potentially leaving. That feels like a really big scoring lever. And if I was rewriting this mission, I think that'd be the first thing I was looking at.
We had a conversation about that before.
Yeah.
That holding it at the end of the game should go to 3 and getting more army off should go to 3 and holding at the end of the game should go to 2. And if you do that, it means that the other guy can tie the game if you get more stuff out.
What I would actually have done, I think I agree with you, but I think I would drop the getting more guys. I think getting people off the table, because it's all the button pushing, should still have a big swing in points. I think it should be 3. And I think killing more specialists should be 1. And then you could push holding the room to 3 as well. And so those 2 things are opposed. And then it comes down to the kill and the classified to break the tie at the end.
I see. Yeah.
Right. Because I think those 2 things should be in balance. Right. So you're trying to fight for those. And then the granular stuff in the middle is what swings the victory either way. Because then you could have like a 4-5 or like a 3-6 or something like that at the end of the game based on scoring. And I think that's going to give more interesting games, and it means that somebody's not just out. Because when there's a big win lever like that, like you're describing, where you can make a big play and there's just no way for the guy to come back from it because you've killed his Evo bot and you've killed all of his things that could potentially launch.
Yeah, if you play against a low specialist count army and you can snipe 2 or 3 specialists off the board, you win.
If you just kill a specialist completely, it's over, right? Like he literally can't win anymore. Yeah. So to me, that I think the holding the room needs to be weighted slightly more heavy, because then no matter how many specialists are dead, he's not out of the game. He can claw back a tie, right? If he's been knocked out in round 1. It's a very alpha, the mission scoring weight. And I think if you just tweak the weight a little bit, this would be a really good mission.
Like a vanilla Aleph.
Not to say it's a bad mission. I think it'd be a really good mission if it was.
Can spend 3 orders out of their 15 to get their Evo bot out, basically uncontested because of the way Eclipse works. And they can just unopposed throw that Eclipse. Like they could just sacrifice their Myrmidon officer to walk up and be like, I throw it at the floor. I throw 2 of them because I'm in a little link. And you go, I shoot him with literally every gun I have. And he goes, yeah, okay. And then he puts his smoke down and his Evo bot walks out. And
it's all opposed. It would all be opposed anyway because it's still a dodge, like because it's all Eclipse. You can't not oppose Eclipse.
Right, but you just throw it in a perspective that isn't between you and the enemy.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
anybody could go do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Evo bot leaves, and then he spends his 10 orders on Achilles in his other group and kills. And you're like, oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but I'm saying is that straight line, I think, is the only criticism I have of this mission, is that I completely agree with your assessment of the right tactics for this mission. And also I think it'll lead to the mission being uninteresting because you can't claw back a win if you get hammered, if the army's tailored to do it and somebody's not ready.
but it becomes you better tailor your list, and you better be aware of what their list is going to do to try and get their guy out. And if they get there, because like the other thing too, and I think the most interesting part of this game is when both of you got your guy out, and then it becomes like, I don't know what happens now. Like it's a desperate fight to get a single ID guy out to break the tie between the two of them, and then the game becomes like a real, like you talked about,
you
how
can't
you want to
score
like
the game. Like if you're tied for points, you get nothing.
No, but what I mean,
there's literally no. But I'm saying there's literally no scoring for tying launches.
I know,
which is weird.
And so like if both of you, if you get yours off turn 1, and then the fighting begins, and you fail to kill his Evo, and he gets his smoke, and his Evo leaves, you're 35-1. So you're both on the same page, and now it's okay, I got to get an ID. And then it becomes like a mess of can one guy last. I think a motorcycle specialist is a good pocket piece.
Yeah,
bring
like
one of those.
Get a knight,
get a Montesa,
or something like to leave. Montesa paramedic, yeah.
Arghetto, Maverick.
Yeah, actually, Arghetto Killer Hacker could be really good too, because you could just cyber mask and then run up.
Yeah, or a Maverick with their MSV and smoke and whatnot. Like there's a couple guys in the different factions that could do that kind of stuff.
But again, I think that having to tailor your list so hard because the wind slide is so hard on this one makes it hard to put this in a mission roster.
Don't worry,
and have the tournament be interesting. You know what I mean?
It's in Carbonite. Don't worry.
Yeah, good, perfect.
Yeah, but so is Beepon and Mind Wipe. It's 3 Taylor missions, and then there's like 2 other ones that I don't remember.
Oh Jesus! Yeah. I'm excited.
It's wild.
You should be forced to take a new army. You're not allowed to take Axelon this year.
Yeah, on day 2, can I play a different faction?
Can I just swap in a different army? Can I just switch back to Alcazam? That's gonna be the message I get on Sunday morning. I want to switch back to Alcazam. I don't want to play this army anymore. Whatever army it is, it'll
be real hard to not play Hakazam. They're so good.
Maybe I'll fly out this year to Colden and Carbonite. I'll come stay with you in your new guest room.
There you go.
And sleep on the floor in front of the fireplace. And I'll go play on Carbonite.
Bed. Jesus.
I'm just
animal.
I'm more comfortable sleeping on the floor.
You sleep on the floor.
That's right. You sleep on the floor. Exactly. Yeah. I'm more comfortable down there. I
did want to comment on 2 things about this mission.
Do it.
That actually got somebody to leave the Discord.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. I'm glad that as I've unmonitored the Discord, you got people leaving. Perfect.
It's not my fault. It was just a stupid argument. But moral of the story is there are 2 instances that are going to pop up in this that could potentially cause confusion. What happens if your lieutenant leaves, and what happens if that Evo bot leaves after putting up an Evo program?
Yeah, they're completely uncovered. It does feel like this mission had a bunch of like, we didn't think about maybe some of the unintended consequence, like rules like that. Yeah,
if you read the rules as written, like the literal rules of what it means to be in loss of lieutenant, you will not be in loss of lieutenant if your lieutenant leaves the map in this game.
Because they never count as being in a null state. They always count as alive.
Correct. Now, he will not generate an order because he's not on the table, and he will not generate his lieutenant order because of that. But because he never went into a null state, and this game specifically calls out, even if you die, you're not killed, probably you're never going to lose lieutenant if he gets off the board.
It makes you completely immune to loss of lieutenant if you have your lieutenant leave. It's just rules is written. I would agree with that interpretation. Is that how it's intended? I don't think so.
I'm actually okay
we have no idea how it's intended, to be honest, but yeah, maybe.
The second one with Evo bots is your Evo bot is probably going to be in your list. If he puts up a supportware and then leaves, it also does not go away.
Yeah, it doesn't qualify for any of the cancellation clauses for supportware.
Right. And so because of that, you would just be able to go, oh, I put up marksmanship on my bot, and then this guy leaves.
And it's up forever.
And he has it until he dies.
That's it. Yeah. He just has marksmanship now. Yeah, absolutely.
Or fairy dust or whatever.
Or whatever the support program is. Yeah, the total reaction or whatever. I think that our assisted fire, I think is what it's called. I think that those are 2 things we'll quickly see get added to whatever the first layer of FAQ is for this season, because they're both very obvious questions. Whatever it lands doesn't really matter. They're just obvious sort of like head scratchers, I think, right now early in the season for this mission.
Yeah, and I guess my point of bringing those up is that if you're playing this, it's possible that this conversation is going to come up, and that is my perspective based on rules as written. This is what they state. And you're absolutely right that there'll be an argument about what intent is. But the great part about rules is you don't have to do that. You actually can just do what they say, and then you don't have to have a discussion about what they meant.
Just read the cancellation clauses. Like that's to be honest, like it isn't even really an argument, because if it's not listed in the cancellation clauses, it's not canceled.
It feels wrong because he's not on the board.
And that's the thing, is I completely agree, it feels not wrong, and the FAQ may change that, or they might just reword the mission, because that's the great thing about the ITS document. It's not a physical document. You can just change the wording or add wording. I would actually suspect that what they'll do is they'll change the wording of the mission at some point. They'll slightly amend the season info, because they did that like 6 times the morning it went up. Remember, there's missing missions. There's all kinds of stuff in the document that was just gone.
I think that
in fact it could be fixed right now. We just haven't looked at it because we've got the ones that we downloaded on our phones that may or may not be up to date.
I think the line that needs to be removed is troopers that have been extracted are never considered to be killed.
I mean, that is
I know why that's there, because they don't count.
It's done for scoring. Let's make sure they score.
The fact that there is no whip roll to leave, meaning that there it is. Troopers removed in this way still count towards the player's victory points, even if they're in a null state or dead during the order they were extracted. That's ridiculous, because it means that the other player can't kill you as you leave. Yep. And I think you should be allowed to kill them as they leave, because right now it's way too easy to be able to leave with EvoBot. Like, it's just again.
I think just get rid of the EvoBot's free ID tag.
You could do that too.
Just get rid of that. I think that fixes a bunch of problems in the mission.
That also changes it considerably.
That's what I mean. Like, if you just get rid, because
it doesn't crunch so incredibly hard on them.
Exactly. It means you can't. That first turn swing doesn't have such a big impact too. I think those are both equally valid solves. I think that you could either add a log line that just says any other effects that are triggered by being in null state or whatever, such as loss of lieutenant, cancellation of orders or support or whatever, still are affected.
You could
which is like a 2-word
like
thing.
Troopers removed in this way are considered dead or null, but count towards victory points. And
so I'm just saying, like, you just reword it. Like, that's it. I mean, we can do it. We're doing it awkwardly right now because we're just spitballing. But you can just change the wording. But then the flip side is you could also just take away the EvoBot's ability to leave. I think that's less likely to happen.
No, because
it seems like and it also seems like it was something they tested and thought was a good idea.
I'm okay,
and I think it's okay I think it would be completely okay if they change the scoring slightly. And also it just means that there's a very kind of obvious path to victory in this one.
My thing is that it's not necessarily obvious right away when you look at it, because EvoBots are kind of attacks in most armies, like especially things like Ariadna and Toha. You are not intuitively bringing your war driver. And so you look at this and you're like, oh, I can just walk and then leave. And it's like, yeah, but I could just get a token and then leave. And then you don't realize just how trivial it is for that EvoBot to do it, because of like the dodge and not being able to arrow. And I just need to touch the center and it doesn't matter anymore. You can't stop me. And because of the ability to do that in 2 orders, effectively unopposed, like what do you even do to that?
Just leave and say bye.
Yep.
Deuces.
I do think this is a fun mission though, and like I said, the most interesting part is when you get to that point where both of you have gotten something off, and then the game becomes much more like, I'm not going to say like dynamic, because it becomes like a struggle for both sides to try and
I think you could achieve that with scoring. I think that's where I'm agreeing with you, I think, and my path to that is changing the scoring, because I think that I want missions. I think good long-lasting missions with longevity can be thematic like this one is, but they can have alternate paths to victory based upon who your army is and how they function. When there's like a unilateral path to victory, I think something has to change in the mission, right? Where everybody just does it the same way. I think that means that the mission, it's just going to come down to like who goes first and who has the better tools in their army list. And that's less interesting to me. And I'd rather there were closer, tighter fought games. And I think you could do that with just some really simple tweaks to this one. Because I think the core bones of this mission are fantastic. I think it just needs a little bit of tweaking to make it less skewy. You know what I mean?
This mission,
you're making a list for it.
Does get this is the most 40k army built list mission. I feel. Where I like, for the first time in Infinity, you could win on deployment.
Yeah.
Like, you could sit there and look at your opponent and be like, do you have an Evo hacker? And they go, oh, no, I don't. And you're like, oh, okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, snake. Let's go.
Sweet. Here's what I do. I move and dodge as my first order. And then second order, I touch the button and I leave. Okay, now I spend 5 command tokens that I have. Coordinate, lay mine, coordinate, move, coordinate, suppression, coordinate, move. Okay, all you have to do is touch the IDs. I spend the rest of my game doing nothing other than just slowing you down.
Reviving guys who've gone down and then just regrowing back on suppression, watching all the buttons.
I move into base to base with the ID token. I move I stand in the door.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's gonna be one of those ones where I hope it shows up again next season, and I hope they learn from whatever player feedback and gamings that they've watched and are reported to make it a little different.
Because I put my boy Den McConnelly near an objective, and he kills anything and is. Can we talk
about him? Let's end this episode by talking about him, because you had such a strong reaction to him, and I know we've talked about this episode before. So before we jump into this, and let's know and rage about it. We have strong opinions.
I'm not even mad. This is just an example for people who tell me things like, "Oh, they use a schematic for points," and I'm like, "Go fuck yourself." They don't. Like, they clearly don't, and this guy is the reason why he's not.
I think his discount's based upon not having real like guns, but he is.
Oh, the +1 burst heavy pistol doesn't count as a gun because that's better than a lot of guys. It's not outside 8.
There. It's not a gun. It's not a ranged good gun. Not that he's bad. I think he's great. But we were talking about so Sam's is also in the list now too. We could talk about Sam's, I guess, but
I'm going to compare him to a Kaisetsu paramedic.
Okay, so Den McConnelly's 12 points, and that's where is just swimming in all of the. If you could like write like a basically a list of things you would want to have on a warband guy. This has just got everything. He's got a +1 burst chain rifle. He's got smoke grenades. He's got a +1 burst heavy pistol. He's got an AP plus DA close count weapon. He's 25 points with Berserk, Courage, Dodge +2 inches, Immunity Shock, Martial Arts 1, Metachemistry Reroll, and Natural Born Warrior. So he has everything you could possibly want. And with Metachemistry, he could just randomly have amazing abilities. Like he could be
Regeneration Fizz +3.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's 6'2", so he's fast. CC 23, which means he Berserks at 23. And I think with his Martial Arts 1, he Berserks at 26. If he's not fighting another,
do you not like the whip or the Fizz 20 smoke grenade? I think you're overlooking the Fizz 20 smoke grenade. I didn't
overlook the Fizz 20 smoke grenade. No, it's not Fizz 20. It's Fizz 17. He's Fizz 14.
Yeah, it's just that 15-20% of the time, and he rerolls, he will get +3 Fizz.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. You're trying to get +3 Fizz off the metachemistry would be amazing. Would be an auto smoke.
1 to 3, and then the 20 is the Fizz plus regeneration, which means he regenerates on a 17.
Yeah, you can try and fish for that. Metachemistry is a big deal for this guy. And then he's just a basic 1 wound guy than that. And he has structure instead of wounds, which is such a weird interaction because it makes him immune to a bunch of stuff.
Hey, Toha, fuck off.
That's right. Yeah, you can't brain melt him with Toha. He weirdly can't be fixed by paramedics. You can gizmo kit him back to life though, which is friggin' weird. And with his Fizz being 14, he actually gizmo kits back up a bit like McMurrow. And if you can get him plus Fizz from metachemistry, he comes back to life real good.
And he could also just regenerate.
So
actually, wait. Now I wonder: does regeneration not work if they have structure? Is there some? No, it has wounds and structure. Never mind. It works.
It's both. Yeah.
For a second there, I was like, "Wait, stop!"
No, it gives you both. Yeah. It sure does.
Did we mention that he's 12 points? And you know what else is 12 points? And let me tell you about my friend Fusilier. He's CC 13 and BS 12 and Fizz 10 and Whip 12.
So on the flip side, you get one of these guys. He can't have cover, right? So he's relying on that smoke to get where he's going. He might just die like a dog, right? Like he might just die to someone with a visor. He might just die to lots of things. He is super vulnerable.
He could legit just dodge on 17s if you get one of those two.
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that I don't think he needs to be more than 12 points, but I do think you're going to get a ton of value out of those 12 points. And any army that can take him should take him. What armies can take him? Do we know?
These
besides
guys.
Ariadna? Just Ariadna?
Just Ariadna.
Well, thank God. And then who cares? Because Ariadna's already got tons of great warbands.
Okay.
So whatever.
Varangian Guard and him. They're both 12
great.
points.
Branching guards are great, man. They got a better brawler gun, so I can see the argument as to why they're 12
They have
points.
an SMG.
SMG, yep.
Between the two of them, they lose being 6-2. They're 4-4 instead.
Mm-hmm.
They lose a BS.
Mm-hmm.
They gain an armor. They lose martial arts.
They're
they
dogged.
lose natural born warrior.
They get plus their CC 26 as well for berserks are the same. No natural born warrior, no.
Which is a significant switch. They don't have the +2 dodge. They don't have courage, which is amusing. They're not
the
shock
religious,
immune,
which is kind of the same.
It's just objectively worse.
It means they probably won't run.
Yeah. They don't have metachemistry. They only have 1 chain rifle instead of 2. They don't have the double tap heavy pistol, and they only have an AP instead of AP plus DA close combat weapon.
Yeah.
They're like, are you saying that one...
I don't know what the value of these stats are. Like, I think having a gun automatically
an SMG
offsets a bunch of stuff
for dodge
in
courage,
their matrix. I don't disagree. I'm not saying it's right. No, I'm not saying it's right.
Metachemistry,
I'm
pistol
saying
+1
in
burst,
their
DA
matrix.
close combat weapon.
I'm saying in their matrix, they put a ton of value on being able to reach out and kill people. And so I think that's what's offsetting it there. I think that SMG and probably religious, which
his pistols hit on 11s up to 16 and he has burst 3.
Dude, I'm not disagreeing. I think he's great. I think he's an incredible value piece. And I'm just saying I don't think the point cost matters. I think he'll still die just like a branching will. Because they're not shock immune, but they're dogged. And that's it.
He's shock immune.
He is. I'm saying they're dogged, but he's shock immune, right? So it's they both have like a survival skill.
And he regenerates.
I mean, maybe he regenerates.
Or he pulls TI. Like there's literally nothing on here that he can't.
I regret this already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is my thing. Like, and the reason I'm like so like anal about it is because something I hear every friggin' time from people is, oh, well, there's a matrix and it's all balanced according to the matrix. And I'm like,
I don't think it's balanced. I think there is a matrix, like, because they're very hidebound on their point costs. I just don't know if it's a good mate. I think what they value and what we value is the difference.
I think reinforcements change the matrix. I think that there is a new scale that units are being measured against, and there's a collection of old models who are not on that matrix right now. Like the change to the models that have shown up from the reinforcements, and most of them haven't gone into the factions. Like I fully appreciate that, but like those guys change the scale for what a good insert like skirmisher troop is, or what a good guy at being able to fight in melee, or a peace trading piece. Like the new ones that have come out are that much better than the old ones that it's like laughable to compare them. And maybe that means that in the future like infinity balance of all the boats rise, but they've also changed that because they've started nerfing points on stuff, which didn't used to be a thing.
No, so I think that's a catalog issue. I think the bigger the catalog gets, the more they're going to struggle with it, right? And the catalog being smaller made it more manageable, and now the catalog being bigger makes that just a harder job and not an enviable one.
I honestly feel that these guys are answers like them, like the Corsan or Connolly or the Daiwan or whatever the hell it's called in ALF. These guys are answers to play with 15 order generating models.
Yeah.
We're going to make a skirmisher guy who's so off the rails. Yeah, he just dies to an HMG like any of them always have. But now you're not going to fight 4 of them. You're going to fight 1, and he's as good as 4 of them, and he costs only a little bit more. He's 12 points instead of 8 points. But that because of that, you're only getting the 15 orders, and you're not sitting there like, oh, I can't really justify spending 4 points on a Gaki. Why don't I bring this?
Yeah, because warband troops, or a Galwegian or something like that, where like they used to be, if it's outside of like a Wallace list and they don't generate orders, you just don't take them because they're too cheap, and there's only so many seats in the bus.
Exactly. It's like the Gakis versus the Taigas, right? Like they're sort of the same guy, but the Taiga's kind of just better.
Yeah, the Gaki's got his own gimmick, you can link him. You take him a Morats when you can link him, and that's it.
Yeah. He's got a gimmick. He explodes and the Taiga doesn't, but the Taiga's kind of just better at everything compared to him. And hey, welcome to the new age of slightly more expensive, worth more than 2 of you in value. Maybe that's just the way it is now.
Oh, well, that might just be that there's a unilateral shift, and you have to adapt to that. And that when they change editions, they'll refix the matrix. And in the meantime, we're kind of like scratching our heads over some
situation.
Stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. And like that would be my my stance
assessment.
on this stuff.
Yeah, me too.
With because like we do entire episodes talking about new models coming out, and the whole conversation in those is like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my, like every time one of them comes out,
and
it's like
we spent a lot of time talking about their value in comparison because the catalog's so big now that we have to, right? Because there's then like when the catalog gets huge and there's 15 seats in the bus, you have to assess who goes in and who doesn't. It's like magic cards, you know what I mean? Like there's good cards in the set and there's not, and you kind of have to have that talk. And so I think that's where we come to like a place where it's like, yeah, you had that strong stance of like, it's good they get rid of stuff. Like, you have to at some point, you have to consolidate profiles and you have to like trim it down to what do you want this faction to be, because it's like an out of control plant. Like you got to kind of trim pieces off of it to get it to have the shape you want. Otherwise it's just going to grow in every direction and you're going to have something that doesn't look like what your vision of it is anymore. You're going to have factions that we're supposed to have an identity, but now just do everything everyone else does. And every once in a while you got to come and cut it back and figure out what that looks like going forward.
I feel part of it is the focus I've had on Ariadna recently with US Ariadna and like watching them compared to other factions.
Yeah, where they're an older faction.
And they have like they feel like they should be playable but out of catalog. Like that's the vibe you get because they seem just forgotten. Like they didn't keep up with the other people. Like the fact
even
that
just the grunts are still 4-2,
right? The only 4-2 infantry
left in the game,
and it's
game.
Like,
and it's like you guys you're really weighed down. You really got a lot of armor on you guys. It's like, but everybody else did enough like rucking that we got our legs under us and became 4-4. Why are we not 4-4? Everybody else can walk around with all their armor plates in their bag.
You know, a Nox Trooper is 14 points.
I did know that because we just made an army list with them.
Let me tell you about Connolly.
That's fair.
And like that Shazvasti would be another one that I'd be like, I would like to do. Can we do a once over on that one there? See,
just do a pass. Yeah,
just do a quick.
Just make sure that they still fit what the vision is for the army. You know what I mean? And like, and smush profiles around and make sure everybody's kind of like in their lane.
Like the idea of like a Nox Trooper being this throwaway biological creature that we just like, we drop their eggs like bombs on a planet and just see how it all turns out. Maybe they should be kind of like throwaway E, or they should have some kind of modified it to them so that they're like maybe really short range fighters, but they have these abilities to get them up the board.
Give them SMGs or something, make them cheaper.
Yeah, and then they all get forward deploy or something. And then the whole faction is this like mix of forward deployment and camo and stuff, which they kind of did with the Seed Soldiers, who are the answer. But then
I always thought Shazvasti should play like the Covenant in Halo. You know what I mean? Where like there's just like drop shifts of these like weird light crap troops, but also these like weird hunter troops that are invisible. You know what I mean? Like they should feel like when you're driving around Warthogs trying to collect up all the Marines, and there's just like these random assaults of elites leading, you know, weird little grunts and stuff like that.
Or like if you want to take that analogy and be like combined as a total is kind of the Covenant. And then absolutely. You have the Morats are the brutes, but then you have the elites that could be the Shazvasti. And then you end up in a situation where they're all super soldiers, but then they have the invisible guy and they have the big laser swords guys, and they have like all of these weird.
So if you really want to get your tinfoil hat on and take that analogy even further, there's some stuff in the fluff right now talking about how these like QAZ creatures and this like extra dimensional stuff is like leaking in. And you want to put your tinfoil hat on. I think that I would say that if we want to go a little further with the Halo analogy, there's no proof that the invasion of the human sphere isn't like just expansionist crazy. The EI wants to know what's going on and like take over and amalgamate all these races to solve its like permanent equation. There's no proof that that's the only thing that's happening. They could also be on the run. And I think, and much like the Covenant and Halo, who were on the run from the Gravemind, I feel like maybe that's where this is all going. And the thing that's creating these QAZ creatures and all these extra dimensional rifts is the original EI, the one that disappeared. It's coming back, and that that whatever that extra dimensional stuff is that they're starting to like leak in. That's what the combined army is running from. and they need to get to the human sphere to find something to safe place.
Use an alien faction.
Yes, that was my exact comment. Me and Jordan were talking about that this week. We were like, I would like to see some actual weird aliens. Give me some like all of the aliens in the combined army are too anthropomorphic. They're 2 arms and legs. You know what I mean?
They've also been they're even more flattened than they used to be.
That's why I was talking about how the Squid Beast remotes became just the human remotes in profile, right? Like keep even the aliens. Yeah.
Like me and
they were Zoidbergs originally.
We just played. I have all old Morats. Like those are my collection.
I know I love them.
And that was what I played with. And then we walk down and we're looking at the models, and there's the new releases of Morats that have come out. And it's like, that's just a Space Marine. Like you could have, if you painted him blue and said he was a military order guy, I don't know. Sure.
When I was at Adepticon, a guy literally came and showed Carlos while I was talking to him his Morat army that was painted like orcs. They had orc glyphs on them. They had checks on them. They're all painted green. And I was like, I watched the light leave Carlos's eyes at one point.
The new Morats with like their arms exposed and they're like big muscular orc boys. You could paint those like orcs.
Well, that's what he painted.
Oh, I might have to do that.
He took his Kornak with the giant sword and cut the sword off and gave him an orc like Wa banner instead. That's why he had the inspiring presence. They're all in yellow with like checks on them, and
I gotta paint them like my old orc army with the gray, brown, and blue, and then the green arms.
Yeah, there you go. You're on it. All right, we're dithering now. I think we're done. Anything to plug? Anything going on? Is there any events coming up at Sundry Box you want to talk about?
25th. It's not on the ITS website yet because I had trouble getting my code, but I have it now, and it should go up later today.
Sweet.
There is a prelude to Carbonite. We're playing 3 of the missions from Colder Than Carbonite. It's a nightmare tournament. I think it's like Mind Wipe, B-Pong, and Last Launch.
Yeah, it is.
So good luck, and
Godspeed.
Because all 3 of those are in Carbonite.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's going to be an event. That's
when is Carbonite? I'll have to look at
February 4th.
February
the weekend at or around there.
Okay,
if that is a weekend.
If it's February 4th, see if it's on the website.
That's a Saturday. Saturday's the 3rd. February is the 4th because I knew it was around that time. The first week of February. First week of February. January 31st is a Wednesday.
I am free that weekend.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Boom.
There you go. You can fly out and you can come with Dan and I.
Fly Friday. Fly back like Sunday or Monday.
And we can all play each other at that event.
Yes, done. All right. So we'll have to solid up our armies then. Figure out we're taking a Colder Than Carbonite. Yeah, I'll fly out. I'll come out on the 2nd. I can do that. I'm in. I'm done. What faction?
Well, you know,
I have to play Akazlan this year. That was the thing. I was forced to play Akazlan. That was the vote. Was that I need to play the one army I haven't played.
So ever. You're telling me Orc Morats?
Yes, I'm telling you Orc Morats. Do it. More cats, Gorkats, and more cats.
Do they have an EvoBot? EvoBot in combined.
Oh yeah,
sucks.
Sure. They have the EvoBot. Yeah, but they have one. It has a combi rifle. It shoots.
He doesn't have baggage.
No, he doesn't have baggage. No, only your Cadrons have baggage. You don't get the combo. You don't get the combo in Morats.
Or combined at all.
Nope. 0%.
Well, new plan. Disable his hand.
All right. Bye, everybody.